This women's reproductive rights, Mr. Producer. It wasn't that long ago we couldn't define a woman. Wasn't that long ago that men could become pregnant. Now it's women's reproductive rights. These Democrats and Marxists are so screwed up they can't even get their own propaganda straight. Shouldn't it be persons' reproductive rights? That's number one. Number two, Joe Biden, with a signature the other day, destroyed women's sports. Violated Title IX of the Civil Rights Act. Not because he supports abortion. He's to be supported by women. Can I tell you all a little secret? This was taken out of the hands of the federal government. Except for federal facilities and interstate commerce, Joe Biden has no say. So he's campaigning on an issue that he can't do anything about one way or the other. But it doesn't matter. Now, I want to say something here. If we had in this country going on our college campuses, black people being treated the way Jewish people are being treated today, that is, black people being treated like it's the 1950s and 60s, we wouldn't tolerate it. I wouldn't tolerate it. You wouldn't tolerate it. They wouldn't tolerate it. And neither political party today would tolerate it. Period. Period. The Democrat Party was behind slavery and segregation. The Democrat Party was behind Jim Crow. The Democrat Party was behind eugenics aimed at black people. The Democrat Party is an evil, diabolical, hateful, racist, segregationist, anti-Semitic party, and it's too bad so many people have been bamboozled. And by the way, this is the history of Joe Biden himself. In his 80s. But when he was 30 and sworn into the Senate, he threw in with the racists and the segregationists. He plays races against each other, religions against each other. He's a diabolical, evil individual. That's what he is. He tried to destroy Robert Bork, one of the great legal minds of our time. He tried to destroy Clarence Thomas. He destroyed circuit court nominees, blacks, whites, Hispanics, Jews, non-Jews, didn't matter. It's always about Joe Biden. An autocrat, an egomaniac, a cheater, a liar, a scammer. Why are we begging Joe Biden to say something about what's taking place in this country when he caused it? That's right. Joe Biden's statements, Joe Biden's policies, his attacks on the democracy in Israel, his attacks on the IDF in Israel, his moral equivalency, that of his media, that of his party, his tolerance for AOC and Omar and Tlaib, his embrace of Bernie Sanders. These are all anti-Semite, American-hating Marxists/Islamists. That's what they are. The man is funding Iran. And there's a report today, if you look at my social sites, that they're backdooring negotiations with Iran right now on other sanctions that they can waive to try and get Iran, well, to be more receptive to their appeasement. Now, you're president of the United States, and there you sit. Not a word about what's taking place on the college campuses. Nothing. The idiot spokes idiot. The spokes idiot for the idiot. We're not going to tolerate this. We're not going to this. We're not going to... Words mean nothing when it comes to doing something about this. The FBI director is doing nothing. The head of DHS is doing nothing. The head of the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, nothing. The head of the Civil Rights Office at the Department of Education, nothing. Zero. Oh, we have a program we set in place. That program has done nothing. What can they do? I've already said what can be done, and thankfully some Republicans obviously listen to this program. Number one, threaten federal funding. If there's $1 in federal funding, the left taught us this, whether it's student loans, the Pell Grant, food programs, anything, any subsidies coming from the federal taxpayer, there's a federal nexus. You can cut off all funding to universities and colleges that are promoting or even acquiescing to terrorism. When you say we're with Hamas, you're a terrorist. You're self-identifying as a terrorist. We are with Hamas. Hamas is officially a terrorist organization. Hamas. We are Hamas, they say. Okay, take them at their word. Arrest them. Number two, we have cockroaches dressed up as professors in our universities and colleges who have tenure, who've been hired by other cockroaches who are department heads and administrators at these various colleges and universities. And you and I are paying for all of it. Tenure does not trump the promotion of terrorism, the promotion of revolution against our country, the promotion of racism, segregation, anti-Semitism, which is what's happening in our college campuses today. We're not required to be observers. We're not required to sit back and watch. Things can be done. The FBI should be monitoring these organizations. Let me pick one. Students for Justice in Palestine is a Hamas network-funded front group founded about 8 to 10 years ago with tentacles in over 200 of our college campuses. I get so frustrated watching these news reports. It's spreading. Now it's in L.A. and it's in Texas. Spreading? It's organized. It's coordinated. It's funded by Hamas. Look it up. The Students for Justice in Palestine. Look who founded it. A Hamasian. That's right. Look at it. And who else is funding these protests? George Soros and the Tides Foundation. Democrat Party organizations, umbrella groups, raising money from billionaires, including those who are avowed Marxists who live in Shanghai, China. You don't believe me? Go look, go look. I keep posting things. I keep showing you. So this is a war on the United States from within. Our enemies within, our enemies without. The Islamists and the Marxists. The Bernie Sanders types, the Talib types, the Omar types, the AOC types. It's a fusion of Marxists and Islamists. And finally, the head of the ADL, who was an Obama apparatchik, figured it out. Now he's regurgitating what I said. Good! Everybody should say what I said, because I know exactly what I'm talking about. But it starts with the Jews. It always starts with the Jews. Then it spreads to the blacks, to the Christians. Next thing you know, you wake up. Wow, what the hell's happened to my country? I thought it was just the Jews. Now it's the Jews and the black. Wait a minute. Now it's the Christians, the Jews, and the black. Wait a minute. Now the whole country's being devoured by these movements. That's right. These are Islamist, not Christian, not Jewish, not Hindu, not Baptist. These not Catholic. These are Islamist movements. Coordinated with, overlapping with Marxist movements. Now, they don't have everything in common, but they have enough. A centralized ideology, an absolute intolerance for individualism, an absolute intolerance for disagreements and differences, an absolute demand for compliance and uniformity. They're Hamas now. Say it. Not, oh, we have the Israel protests. No! These are terrorists, terrorist wannabes. That's what they're saying. We are Hamas. And then, well, are they all Hamas? They don't all say they're Hamas. They're marching with people who say we are Hamas. They're using Hamas slogans. River to the sea. Gee, which river and which sea? They don't even know. Now, we, the American people, not required to sit back and observe. 2020 was enough. And now they're back. 2024. And you know who's gaslighting them? Joe Biden, Antony Blinken, Thomas Friedman of the New York Slimes, Jake Tapper of the Constipated News Network, the whole lineup at CNN, the whole lineup at MSNBC, the entire employed staff at the New York Times, the Democrat Party. This is happening in blue cities and mostly blue states for a reason. These are their voters. We shouldn't have to ask Joe Biden to speak out week after week, month after month. We shouldn't have to pretend that he has when he hasn't. We shouldn't have to demand that our federal government do something about this as it is spreading across state lines. It's called interstate commerce. That we have foreigners from the state of Qatar, the regime in communist China, the Hamas terrorist network, Democrat Party billionaires. See, that's the problem. They need Soros. They need those guys. Those are money bags for Biden. And who's heard from the Attorney General of the United States, Mr. Producer? Not a word. Nothing. Have they launched a federal criminal investigation to determine the funding sources? I mean, it's out there. I've talked about them relentlessly. No, they haven't. Department of Homeland Security, Mayoris, always on the wrong side. Just policy differences, you know. Tell me, how many of these Hamas terrorist wannabe, have had their file opened? How many of them are here on a student visa? How many here have overstayed their student visas? How many here can be and should be deported? What is the Department of Homeland Security doing? Nothing. Zero. Nothing. Zero. Joe Biden wants to be Franklin Roosevelt. Wants to be bigger than Franklin Roosevelt. Spending the country into bankruptcy. Destroying our values and our belief system. Redistributing wealth. Attacking energy independence. Creating inflation.